Good afternoon everyone. This lecture is in continuation with my previous lecture in which we have discussed different philosophies of design of RCC structure. Now before going to the detail in design, we have to study what are the assumptions made in the limit state method. Now when we apply actual principle or theoretical principle into an actual field problem, we have to make certain assumptions so that we can easily apply that principle to the practical problem. Now in the same path, by designing the RCC structure by limit state method, we have to assume certain values and we have to assume certain assumptions. Now these assumptions I have listed here. Now these assumptions are only limited for the flexural design. What is meant by flexural design? Flexural design is nothing but design of member which is subjected to the transverse loading. In the RCC structure, simply you can see the beam and slab, both are the flexural members, and while designing the beam or while designing the slab, we will consider these assumptions and then we will design it. Now we will see one by one. See, the first assumption in the limit state method is the plane section before bending remain plane after bending. Now this assumption is same as like working stress method. Now what is the mean of this assumption is that the strain in the concrete section or the strain in the beam section is directly proportional to the distance of that point from the neutral axis. Now suppose this is a beam, this is the neutral axis, or a plane at which stress or strain is 0. So if you see the strain, you see the strain variation, or the strain variation will be linear and it is directly proportional to the distance of the point from the neutral axis. Now this variation will be like this. Now the physical meaning of this assumption is that the strain distribution across the section is linear and it is directly proportional to the distance of that point from the neutral axis. Now at neutral axis strain will be 0 and it will be maximum at the extreme level. This is the first assumption in the limit state method. Now second assumption is that maximum strain in the concrete is equal to 0.0035 at the time of failure. Means what? In working stress method, failure is defined by the stress value. Means what? In working stress method we assume that ultimate stress is reached when stress is ultimate. Means load overcome the design stress value or ultimate stress value. Now this assumption in the working stress method was illogical because stress is an indirect quantity. It is not a physical quantity. You can sense the stress. Stress is nothing but the effect of strain. Hence, in limit state method, the drawbacks are overruled, and in limit state method is dependent on the strain. And in limit state method, the failure is defined as when strain in the concrete reaches the value which is equal to 0.0035. When strain in concrete reaches at 0.0035, we can assume that the concrete has failed or concrete has reached its ultimate strength. This is what the second assumption in the limit state method. Now third assumption in the limit state method is maximum strain in steel should not be less than 0.002 plus Fy divided by 1/1 yes. Again I repeat, maximum strain in steel should not be less than 0.002 plus Fy divided by 1.15 ES, whereas Fy is the yield stress, ES is the Young's modulus of C, which is equal to 2 into 10 raised to 5 Newton per mm square. Now this assumption, in this assumption it is given that strain should not be less than 0.002 plus Fy divided by 1.15. It is mentioned that it should not be less than, it should be always greater than this value. Because when the strain is less than 0.002 plus Fy divided by 1.15 ES, it means that section is over reinforced. Means in the given cross section, amount of steel provided is on higher side. Now what will happen in such cases, over reinforced cases, steel will not fail first because amount of reinforcement is more. So concrete will fail first and then subsequently steel will fail. Now the failure of concrete is brittle failure, and brittle failure is nothing but the sudden failure, and sudden failure will not be acceptable at all, because sudden failure doesn't give any warning for the resident, so it will cause more hazards. So in Nimistrad method, the failure should be a ductile failure, so that we will get the warning that member is getting failed, so we can easily exit from the location. Now, then this assumption we have to apply, or we have to, this is a criteria from the Nimistrad method, and this criteria we have to follow. Otherwise, over reinforced section will be designed and design will not be acceptable, or design will not be safe for the resident. Then fourth one is the perfect bond exists between steel and concrete until the collapse. Perfect bond exists between steel and concrete until the collapse. There should not be any slippery condition, or there should not be any slip while loading or after the loading. Up to the collapse, due to failure in concrete or failure in steel, the bond should be perfect. That was the fourth assumption. Last one, that is fifth one, is tension in the concrete will be taken by the steel portion. Now this assumption is same as the working stress method. Now we are aware about the behavior of the beam. When beam is subjected to the transverse loading, it gets subjected to the bending, and due to the bending, some part of the beam subjects to the tension and some part of the beam will be subjected to the compression. Now whole compression will be taken by the concrete, because concrete is strong in compression but concrete is weak in tension, hence it is assumed that whole tension will be carried by the steel. Now it is just assumption to simplify the analysis and design of beam. If you see the actual practice, there should be some tension in concrete also. Next is, our last one is, the design stress in the concrete and steel is obtained from the respective stress strain curve. Now these are the stress strain curves for the concrete and steel. This one is for concrete and this one is for the steel. Now these curves are idealized to simplify the design and the analysis. Now in working stress method, we take the permissible stress by dividing the ultimate stress by factor of safety. Suppose we are using M20 concrete. For 20, we divide the factor of safety. It may be 3 or 2.5 or 3.5. Suppose the factor of safety is 3. We will take the permissible stress, which is equal to 20 divided by 3. So it comes out to be 7 Newton per mm square. Now we take this 7 Newton per mm square as a permissible compressive stress value for the concrete, and then we design the beam or slab. Now while designing the beam in limit state method, we have to calculate the stress. We have to derive the stress at which material is failing by knowing the permissible strain, because this method is strain dependent method, not stress. So you can see for concrete, maximum strain in concrete is 0.0035. If you see, the strain is 0.0035. Now corresponding stress, let it be FCK, it is characteristic compressive strength. Now this characteristic compressive strength is measured under UDM or CTM. Now when we consider the failure of a member or compression member, we can derive or we can define that failure that maximum strain should be 0.0035. Strain should not cross this value. Now this is what the characteristic compressive strength of concrete. Now this characteristic strength we derive on the cube or concrete cube of size 150 by 150 by 150. Now if you see the slenderness ratio of that cube is only 1. Means while performing the compressive strength test for concrete, we cast the cube of size 150 by 150 by 150. If you see the slenderness ratio of this cube is 150 divided by 150, the length divided by which letter length. Now both the dimensions are same, so SR will be equal to 1. Now in real life problem or in actual problem in the practice, the member having a different slenderness ratio for the different purposes, for the different structures. We can't take the member with the slenderness ratio always equal to 1. So slenderness ratio will be different for the different members because it is the ratio of length divided by this lateral dimension. Roughly you can say. Now, if we increase the slenderness ratio, the compressive strength will be different. Or definitely the compressive strength will be decreased, because compressive strength is inversely proportional to the slenderness ratio. Because when we increase the length, there will be a chances of buckling of the member, so definitely it will decrease the compressive strength. Now, when we perform the compression test, we perform on the cube of size 150 by 150 by 150 having a size equal to 1. And if we apply the same value to the actual problem or actual beam or actual column, the compressive strength will be different. So we can't take directly FCK as it is, because the compressive strength is decreasing depending with the increasing slenderness ratio. Now after the experimental analysis, it was found that what will be the decrement in the compressive strength is calculated. Now that decrement is equal to 0.67 of original compressive strength or 67% of original compressive strength. Means when we increase the slenderness ratio, compressive strength will decrease, but decrease up to 0.67 FCK. Beyond that it will not decrease. So then, to consider that effect of slenderness ratio, we have multiplied FCK by 0.67. Then second is the partial safety factor for material. Because as it is concrete, concrete is always manufactured on the site. It is not the factory product, or it may be manufactured on the RMC plant. Again, the RMC plant quality will be different at the different location. Means, if you see the Maharashtra region, the concrete quality overall the Maharashtra with the same grade will be different definitely, because the quality control at the different location will be different. Now, to take into consideration that effect, we have applied the partial safety factor, because due to improper material, due to improper water which is used for the mixing, because of the improper workmanship, and because of the improper supervision, the quality of concrete may decrease. Now, when we design the concrete of M20 grade, we can't say that the compressive strength after 28 days should be 20 Newton per mm square, because there will be some plus minus, or there will be some negative positives things which will happen definitely while manufacturing the concrete. Now, to compensate that effect, we have applied the partial safety factor is equal to 1.5. Now again at 0.67 FCK I have divided by 1.5. Now it comes out to be 0.446 FCK. Now this is what the permissible stress. Now I have derived this permissible stress with the maximum strain in concrete. When the maximum strain in concrete is equal to 0.0035, stress in concrete is equal to FCK. Now I have taken the effect of slenderness ratio. So I have multiplied the FCK by 0.67. Then again I have used this amount by partial safety factor 1.5 and the value is equal to 0.426 FCK. Now when we design the beam, when we design the slab, we have to take the compressive strength under flexure, the compressive strength under direct compression. Maximum value of compression should be 0.446 FCK. Compressive stress in the concrete should not exceed this value. Second, what is the maximum permissible stress in steel? If you see, this is the Fy yield stress of steel, or ultimate stress of steel. Now, I have applied here this 0.67 FCK. This factor I have not applied in steel, because the role of steel is to take the tension part of the beam, not compression. We provide or we reinforce the beam to take the tension developed in the beam. So, role of steel is to take the tension. Now, as far as the tension is concerned, there is no effect of slenderness ratio as well. So, Fy I have directly taken as it is. Then I have divided this value by 1.15 by partial safety factor. Now see, the partial safety factor in concrete and steel is different. For concrete, partial safety factor I have applied is equal to 1.5. If you see the steel, the partial safety factor is 1.15. Why? Because the steel is again factory product. It is not manufactured at site. It is manufactured in the factory. So quality control it is little bit high. So I have applied partial safety factor, which is 1.15. Of course, these partial safety factors are provided by the Indian Standard Code IS 456, which is revised on 2000. Now, these are the assumptions in the administrative method. Now, in the next lecture, with these assumptions, we will derive some equation. We will analyze the single reinforced section, we will analyze the double reinforced section, and then we will start the design jobs in this single reinforced beam and double reinforced beam. Thank you.